Still not a door, because it doesn't have an opening mechanism. It's still a piece of art, but you know, he changed it, and it was this plaster gate of hell, which was on exhibit in the sort of private version of the World Exhibit he did as a protest, together with Monet, actually. He put it on exhibit as a protest, and this is like the second version of his Gates of Hell. Well, actually, for me, the second version of the Gates of Hell is what Digital Humanities is all about. We have a very well-defined view of what humanities computing is about, but then again, at once came Digital Humanities in 2004. In a changed reality, reality of the semantic web, of interlinked media, of all sorts of devices, the society had changed compared to the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the years 2000. So we needed a sort of new thing. And that's where Digital Humanities came into being. Humanities computing changed into digital humanities. I wasn't brought up, but I discovered in the 90s, I was brought up with humanities computing, and then in 2004, this book came out. You may know this book, and it said on the cover, Digital Humanities. And everyone was like, what is Digital Humanities? We have no clue what Digital Humanities is. You know, all the figures were taken out of the definition, and it was a sort of abstract thing. But the book itself, because it contains of chapters on research items and research topics, the book itself sort of defined what Digital Humanities was. Also, you can say, so where did Digital Humanities, this title, this idea come from? There was a sort of feeling that humanities computing, because it is computing, it is an activity computing, it was very difficult to actually tell funding bodies, for instance, to say, when you're in humanities, we're doing computing. Well, if you do computing, you should be in informatics, right? And if you're doing a humanities computing project, we're not going to give you money because we are at the humanities section of the funding body. So it became a bit difficult to explain what we were doing because it was computing, right? And digital humanities became a sort of more easy thing to explain because it's humanities and it's digital and the world is digital. So hey, we're very modern. We do digital humanities. And when this book was in print, or when they were thinking about the title for the book, it was actually originally called Humanities Computing. But then the printer said, Humanities Computing, we're not going to sell this. You know, it's very difficult to market this. Nobody understands what humanities computing is. And the publisher said, I want it to be called the digitized humanities. And then the people who edited it, that's Susan Schreibman, Ray Siemens, and John Unsworth, they say, well, you know, digitized humanities, it's not about the digitized humanities. It's not that we digitize the humanities and then do stuff with it. It's more than digitizing the humanities. And then they come up with digital humanities, sort of by accident. And this is what it became. And this is what funding bodies took over, the government, the US government took over, they installed the National Endowment for the Humanities, which is a big funding body. They have millions of dollars for humanities. They installed an Office of Digital Humanities. There was a journal, DHQ, Digital Humanities Quarterly. That's one of the official journals of the ADHO, the Alliance of Digital Humanities Organization. So in like a year's time, there was digital humanities all over the place. It was a buzz, digital humanities, digital humanities, digital humanities. And people started to change their titles. Professors of Humanities Computing, they tried to change the title, say, well, now I'm Professor of Digital Humanities because that's, you know, like, everyone is talking about digital humanities. I want to be Professor of Digital Humanities. So digital humanities became the new buzzword instead of humanities computing. But actually at the moment, there's still people who think, and I'm one of these people, that humanities computing is something else compared to digital humanities. Humanities computing is part of digital humanities, but digital humanities is not humanities computing, because humanities computing is an activity, that's computing, and digital humanities is a field. That's digital humanities. but that's a semantic discussion. All right. Something I actually forgot to tell you is you can say, well, if you're talking about this gates of hell, well, yeah, it's a nice introduction, and I can see that you need, as when you go to teach, you always need something to start with, and sort of, it's always great to show your students that you know of Rodin, of sculpture and all that. But actually, I came to it because I was looking at my library, and I have. My research library is mainly historical books on digital humanities, or on use of computers in humanities. And probably the first book on the use of computers in humanities is this one. It was published in 1965. It's called Computers for the Humanities, ? So they don't know it yet. And on the cover is Le Penseur, the thinker, right, with holes in it, and the holes are the holes of a punch card. So, it's a sort of coincidence that it all came together with the movie I saw and the metaphor I saw. And it's a nice book to see what they were thinking of in the beginning in the 60s about what digital humanities or humanities computing is all about. It's for instance about computers and musicology. That's something they do nowadays as well. Art history, archaeology is there, social history is there. There's also a couple of chapters on the computer, the history of the computer, what can we do with the computer. So there's like technical chapters and there's applied chapters. So just to explain what the link is with all that. So what is digital humanities? What is digital humanist? Are you a digital humanist when you say you're a digital humanist? What is it? What is its purpose? I was in a meeting last week. And there was an Italian professor who was talking about the Italian Association for Digital Humanities, which they were founding, and they had discussions about, what is digital humanities and what is digital humanists, and said, everyone wants to be in digital humanities now because there's a lot of money in digital humanities. And a colleague of mine said, I do digital humanities, but he only uses a concordance. So he takes a text, he puts it into a concordance program, out comes a frequency list of all the words, and he thinks he's doing digital humanities. So even digital humanists say that you're not doing digital humanities, and I am doing digital humanities. So there's sort of a competition there. How much computing do you need to do when you're in digital humanities? Well, actually nobody really knows. What I did is I looked at some information that I could get hold of. Every day there is a day of digital humanities. It's one day, and you can register for it. And it's now run by Sentinel. It was run by Adho, that's a Alliance for Digital Humanities organization. Sentinel is a sort of network of digital humanities centers. And what they do, what they ask you is when you register, you just keep a blog, a diary for one day, and just write down what you're doing that day. And if enough people do it, enough people who call themselves digital humanists do it, we have a lot of information of what people do when they call themselves digital humanists. So we may discover what digital humanities is about, or what a digital humanist does. Right. So there's one of my blog posts. So I took all this information of this Day of Digital Humanities, and of course I make a Wordle. That's the first thing you do. That's playing around. That's not really research that, but it's always nice to see sort of a visualization of the frequency of words, and you see that humanities is there, digital is there, work is there, working, research is there, people, today of course, because they're writing about today. So it doesn't really it doesn't really give us any information about what digital humanities is. What I did next was I plotted all the frequencies in a Cartesian space, and then you can see that it sort of gives another view of the world. You see that digital is the most used word; it's up there, and then day because it's Day of Digital Humanities. And then you have a whole cluster of what people do, and it's meetings, things, it's book, it's conversation, it's research, it's people. So that's like the whole bit which people do, which is very, very much together. But this didn't help me much either. So I used other analytical programs and techniques to sort of get a grasp on the information. There's some other stuff you can do. And actually this is text analysis. This is, by trying to work out what digital humanities is, I use digital humanities techniques. So I can show you. There's some trends. You can see trends for the word digital. What I did was I took the whole bunch of 2009, 2010, 2011 to the 3 corpora, and I tried to track whether there's a trend in the word digital. And you see that in 2011, the word digital is used more than in 2010. So there's a sort of a dip and then it goes up again. You can do that with different words. But still, this is not really giving us a lot of information. This is again another plotting technique of where all the words correspond with each other. And that sort of gives you sort of an overview of what it can be, but it didn't really get me any further. A part of the Day of Digital Humanities is also that every year they ask you also to give your own definition of digital humanities. And I thought, you know, this is more to the point. People give their definition, so when I can do stuff with this, maybe I can get to something else. And you can visualize it differently again. So digital humanities is, and it all clusters and reaches out. And I found a couple of very interesting definitions. John Unsworth, who is one of the main policymakers in digital humanities, he is now an advisor to the president on digital humanities. Yes, they do exist, advisors to the president on digital humanities in the US. He says, he has a very simple explanation or definition of digital humanities. He says, the application of computational methods to research and teaching in the humanities. That's a very traditional explanation, of course, but it's a good one. That's what we do. Laurie Allen says, the use of digital media, there you go, it's not only computational methods to research. So Unsworth is still someone who comes from the humanities computing background. Laurie Allen is more a digital humanities person. She says, the use of digital media and tools to answer traditional humanities questions and the study of new questions that are formed by the intersection of modern methods, tools, models, and humanistic sources. You see again the 2 leaves of the door, interlinked. It's computational, it's digital, and it's humanities. And she brings digital media into the definition. Stan Rucker, he's a professor of design in Canada, and designers have often they have a different view on things. He says, digital humanities is all about researchers working with digital materials, tools or methods in the humanities, researchers creating new digital materials, tools or methods in the humanities. That's the designer, of course, speaking, creating, not only studying, but also creating, and researchers studying computing using humanities methods. And I'll try to be very cheeky in my last definition, and I said, coming from a background in Flanders where digital humanities actually doesn't exist on the university level, I was teaching digital humanities in the University of Antwerp until the whole university system was reorganized into a bachelor's master's system. We had another system before, and with the whole organization they just did away with my subject because the faculty didn't understand what it was all about. So I said, digital humanities is a very rewarding activity which still scares people who don't understand that computers can generate meaning. And generating meaning is one of the big things, I think, in digital humanities. Rafael Alvarado has a very interesting definition on digital humanities. He said, instead of a definition, we have a genealogy, a network of family resemblances among provisional schools of thought, methodological